We're just going live, waiting for everyone else to show up. Okay, we're going to share. Everyone else to show up.
Okay, nobody else yet?
Okay.
Robert Point. Somebody else showed up.
Moment, and I'm going to bring up the Safaria. Okay. Control V. Okay.
Is Faria a separate entity, its own entity? It's supported by strictly donations? How does that work?
Good. Bonk. Okay, everything is shared. And now we shall go to, okay, back to Zoom. Can everyone hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, everyone can hear me?
Yes. I can.
Good. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, Natalie.
Okay.
So it's 10:30 in Brazil?
Talmud. Okay.
Yes, 10:30
So we got Talmud and we want
AM.
Shabbat 119.
AM.
Yeah, sure. How's the weather like there?
Rainy.
Mm.
It rained last night in Long Meadow.
Uh-huh. He is like 84 Fahrenheit.
Nice and warm for 10:30.
Yeah.
It's going to get warmer.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so now we're
he
going
needs
to learn about all the different things that people wished for. A long list. So we finished by saying that if the Jewish people had kept 2 Shabbatot, or will keep 2 Shabbatot, the redemption would be forced to come. Okay. And hold on. Okay, 1 minute. Bonk. Just 1 second. And okay, good. Okay, hopefully now. Let me make sure. Okay, good. Okay, share screen. Where did my share screen go? Share screen. Boom. Okay. Can everyone see Shabbat 119a?
Yes. Yeah.
Amar Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said, "Yehechel ki ma'ochle shalosh sudot b'Shabbat." Let my portion be among those who eat 3 meals on Shabbat. Amar Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says, "Yehechel ki migomrei halel b'chol yom." Let my portion be among those who finish the Hallel every day. Eini, is that the case? Rama Mara Kore Hallel b'chol yom. Someone who reads Hallel every day is a mecharev u'megadev. He is curses and blaspheming God. He displays contempt for Hallel, but not reserving it for days in which Mira is recorded because it should be special. Ki kamrin and besuke de zimra. Means to say the verses of praise that we recite during the morning service from after Baruch Sheyomar until Yishtabach. That is also Hallel because it is praise of God. And some people come to show, and just start with Baruch Hu. They just start with Birchot Krishma, but one should be scrupulous in reciting all the verses of praise. Omar Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says, Yehi chelki. So this is a long list. Once we said, may my portion be among those who eat the 3 meals of Shabbat, we collect everything all the rabbis said about may my portion be. In other words, to say that a list of behaviors that we might not think of at first that are seen by them as very important. What do all these behaviors demonstrate? Commitment and love of Judaism. Omar Rabbi Yossi says, my portion be mispalim im dimdume chama, that I pray with the reddening or with the blush of the sun, which means that you begin Shema right before sunrise, Vatikan, and you begin the Amidah, the Shemona Esrei, the moment after, and he says here the afternoon prayers. I'm not 100% sure. Let me see what it says here. Okay. Right. So it says here that you daven the afternoon prayer right before nightfall, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Let us see.
Some of the Hasidim do just that.
Yeah, but I don't know if the Gemara approves.
I think the Belzer are one of them.
All of them. Oy, look at this. They sent me a Gemara with a bent page. Okay. It's graceful. Oh, I need the next one. Okay, so it says with the reddening or with the sparkles. The Mdume actually means the sparkles of the sun. There we are. It means when the sun is red. In other words, immediately after sunrise. Oh, so that's why. That's the mistake. The Steinsaltz Talmud made a mistake. Arvit means not mincha. It means the evening prayer. In other words, you should daven Mariv as soon as you can. And when 3 stars come out, there's still some light left in the sky. Rabbi Chia bar Abba said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, it's a mitzvah to pray with the reddening of the sun. Rabbi Zera says, what verse alludes to this? We will fear you with the sun and before the moon, generation upon generation. Tehillim 72:5, ayin bet hey. In other words, the awe of God, which is prayer, should be with the sun and before the moon. In other words, when the sun sets and the moon is just rising.
So which one? It's both Mincha and Mariv or Mariv or...
What?
So what are we praying? Mincha or
Mariv.
Mariv?
He's referring to Mariv, according to Rashi.
And when is Mincha done? Just before?
No, Mincha you do in the afternoon. I mean, you can do Mincha in the afternoon. Some people used to daven Mincha twice. Once earlier, once later. V'Omer Rabbi Yossi says, Yechelki meisi b'chole me'ayim. May I be those who die of intestinal disease. Because it says that the most righteous people die of intestinal disease. It's a very horrible disease, and the pain and suffering cleanses any sins they may have. Okay. So that's an interesting approach. Rabbi Yossi says, may my portion be among those who accept Shabbat in Taveri and see Shabbat out in Sipori. In other words, Sipori and Taveri are near each other in the Galilee, but Sipori is on a mountain, and Tiberia is in a valley, and that's why the rabbi in what's the name of the resort town in Eastern California, Palm Springs. That's why That's why the rabbi in Palm Springs ruled there's a mountain to the west that you have to take in Shabbat early, because Palm Springs is in a valley. So the point being, Herman Wouk Olav Shalom lived in Palm Springs the last 20 years of his life. Anyways, so Rabbi Yossi is saying that you take Shabbat in early in Tveria, and in Tzipori that's on a mountain in the Galilee, you have to wait till the sun disappears. So you take Shabbat out later. So Rabbi Yossi is saying we should extend Shabbat. We should take in Shabbat early and let it out late. And there's a famous story about that. So there was the Chose of Lublin was one of the first, one of the older Talmidim of the Maggid, the second generation of Hasidim, and he was the third. So in Lublin, there was still a lot of opposition to Hasidism. And apropos of this Gemara, the Chose used to say Torah and sing at Sula Shlishit for a very long time. They took Shabbat out very late, maybe an hour or 2 hours after Shabbat was over. So there was a mitnagid, an opponent of the Hasidim, who used to bang on the windows of the Beit HaMedrash when Shabbat was over and yell, Shabbos is over, look up at the sky, look at the stars, look up, you lazy Hasidim. So one day at Suda Shlishit, the Chose smiled and said, those who are below say look above, and those who are above say look below. What did he mean? So there's a Gemara elsewhere that says that those, as you know, that those who leave this world and still have Aveirot to deal with, still have sins to deal with. So the concept of Gehenom, it's a cleansing. It's sort of a hot wash and rinse. It's a cleansing of the soul, whatever that means spiritually. But it is painful. According to many commentaries, it means having to re-experience and see as if it were the film of all the bad things you did, which is very embarrassing when God is sitting at your shoulder and watching with you. At any rate, however we understand this, the basic idea from the point of view of the Kabbalah is that one experiences the pain that their soul experienced every time you did something wrong. So that is Gehenom, that is the purgatory, that is the cleansing, the painful cleansing process the soul has to go through before it can be rewarded for the good that it did. However, the Talmud says that on Shabbat, the Gehenom is switched off. On Shabbat, the souls who are in Gehenom do not suffer. They get the Shabbat off from this cleansing process. So the Chose said that when this man lived here, he used to yell at us, look above, look at the sky, Shabbat is over. But now that he's in the next world and he has to account for his misdeeds, so when Shabbat's over, exactly when Shabbat's over, the punishing angels want to schlep him back to Gehenna. And he yells, no, look below by the Chose, it's still Shabbat, you can't put me back in Gehenna. So this is the idea that it is good to bring Shabbat in early and take it out late because one treasures the Shabbat.
So, Rabbi, what's with this Chose? They didn't want to call him a Navi, they call him a Chose?
Yeah, he's called the Chose because he saw things that no one else saw.
Yeah,
he wasn't exactly a prophet, but he saw things. I'm surprised you never heard of him. You're a Polish.
No, I never.
I
don't remember Chose. I do remember Choizek.
No, Choizek means to make fun.
Yeah.
Chose is Hebrew. Okay.
Rabbi, who's the one suffering? If the soul is suffering when somebody does an Avera, then when it goes up, or when it goes to Gehenom, it's suffering again?
Yes. Yeah. In other words, when you choose to do an Avera, in other words, the part of the soul that participates in the Avera, which hid itself from the sin, in other words, it participated. Now it has to see the negativity that it did. There's a whole discussion as to which parts of the soul actually go to Gehenom. But at any rate, the self that made the choice, that self, that I, has to experience the negativity of that choice. As Yirmiyahu says, if your own evil punishes you. In other words, it's not like Dante, but rather one simply experiences the truth of one's deeds, whether good or evil. Okay.
Today, the Jose would be a very rich Jew in America.
Why?
He would be in the market. He would be foreseeing the ups and downs.
I don't think
fortune.
I don't think that's what his gift was. I think it had more to do with spiritual things.
Oh, there's a lot of spirits in the market. Hey.
Yeah, I agree with Joe, and also because nowadays people are searching so much for gurus and people who can see and be spiritual. So and yeah.
Well, there
We
are some interesting stories about the Jose and the subconscious, where he sends suggestions to people. Anyways, another time, because this is Talmud, not Hasidic story time. I just thought it was a cute story about bringing the Shabbat in early and letting it out late. Rabbi Yossi says, "Yechelki megabai tzedakah." Let me be the one who collects tzedakah, not the one who gives it out. Why? Because giving out tzedakah, you could make a mistake. Collecting, as long as it all goes to charity, you're not. There's no mistakes involved.
Is that where the custom of Melave Malchus came in? You postpone leaving Shabbos as long as you could.
No, because Melave Malchus is after Shabbos. It's after Havdalah. Melave Malchus is about escorting the Shabbat queen.
Exactly. That. Well,
Melave Malchus is about the whatchamacallit. Is about the transition. So the elsewhere in the Talmud it's discussed.
It's interesting. It's using the feminine, Melave Malka.
Yeah, because it's the Shabbos queen. You'll see.
Escorting
we're gonna come. Let's talk about the Shabbos queen right now. That's our next piece. Joe, you're a Jose.
I am a Jose.
You're a visionary. Where you're a prophet. We're up to the next, please. Rabbi Chanina, and this is where the custom, the Ari, many hundreds of years later, 1,000 years later, came up with the custom of Kabbalat Shabbat that even Yekis do today. Rabbi Chanina mi'atef. Rabbi Chanina would wrap himself up in his talis, v'koya fanya demale Shabbata, and he would stand at the eve of Erev Shabbat as nightfall came in. An Omar would say, "Bov," and it'd say, "Likrat Shabbat Hamalka." Let us go out and greet the Shabbat, the queen. Rabbi Yanai Lavish, because the quality of Hashem's rulership of Malchut and Kabbalah is one of the feminine qualities. So we say with Rabbi Yanai Lavish Mane Ma'alu umichse. Rabbi Yanai put on his nicest garments Erev Shabbat, and he would say, Boi chala, come my bride, the bride beating Shabbat. Rabbi Bar Ravuna iklaleve Rabbi Bar Rav Nachman. Rabbi Bar Huna came to the house of Rav Nachman. Krivale, they brought him a basket with three saw, which is a lot of biscuits smeared with oil. And let's see how Rashi defines it. Okay, so these were like biscotti. And he said, "Did you know I was coming?" He says, "Are you better than Shabbos, than her?" In other words, I didn't bake them for you. I made them to honor the Shabbat, whoever would come as a guest for Shabbat. Apparently, these were a delicacy.
So that's what he meant by saying boy challah twice. He was talking about the challahs on the table.
No, that's challah with a ches. This is with a kaf. There's no relation between the shorashim.
I know, but it sure sounds the same way.
Okay. Well, Rabbi Abba Zovam B'tzleiser Isteri. Rabbi Abba would buy with 13 istar, and istar being a sixth of a dinar, which was a lot of money in those days. Peshite Brisha B'tzleiser Tabacha. He would buy 13 cuts of meat with 13 isar, which was worth money in those days, from 13 butchers. And he would in order to honor Shabbat, and he would place them at his doorstep. In other words, this Rabbi Abba had a big establishment. He had a lot of guests, a lot of students, a lot of guests. So he would run himself to the butcher, put the meat on the doorstep, and tell the cooks, and he would say, "Asher haya, Asher haya, hurry up and prepare it." He'd yell into the house, "Quick, come grab it," and he'd run along and grab another piece in order to honor the Shabbat with multiple types of good meat. Rabbi Avo Rabbi Yosef ataktika teshina umoyshe finora. Rabbi Abba would sit. Rabbi Avo, who was a very respected rabbi, would sit on an ivory chair, on his nicest chair, and he would fan the fire for Shabbos. And now we're going to learn that all these great rabbis, they would go into the kitchen with the cooks and the maids, and they would do the hard work for Shabbat, because the greatest respect and dignity that a Jew can have, even the greatest rabbi, is to get his hands dirty for Shabbat. Rav Anna Lovesh Gudna. Rav Anna would put on a simple garment to prepare for Shabbat, like he would put his apron on. The Tana de Rabbi Yishmael, Begodim Shabisha Bem Kedera Larabo. The garments in which one cooks for one's master, you shouldn't serve him the wine at a royal banquet. The idea being, you put on an apron, you put on a simple garment, you can get dirty, so you participate without worrying about getting yourself dirty, and then you put on your nice Shabbat clothes. But the point is that even though these were the leaders of the generation, Lahavdil would be like the president would go into the basement of the White House, to the kitchens, and help cook. And that's what these great rabbis did.
And the wives were yelling, "Get out of the kitchen, get out of the kitchen."
But I think the wives were happy for the help. Rav Safra Mafrach Reisha. By the way, this next piece is all the things that wives don't particularly like to do. Rav Safra would it says roast the head of animal. Again, I don't know if this is the actual Steindel. There's some mistakes here. Rav Safra would burn the head of the animal. In other words, there's a lot of good things in the head. The brains,
the brain,
the beak, the tongue, but there's hair on the head. So what they would do is they would burn the hair off the head to make it easy to prepare. So he would, and which is a smelly job, a smelly, difficult job, because hair smells bad. So Rav Safra would do this. See, they did the things their wives didn't want to do. Rava Malach Shibuta. Shibuta is a big freshwater fish, and Rava would salt it. Again, he would clean it and salt it. So you see, Joe, it's all the things the wives didn't want to do. Rav Huna Madlik Shroge. Rav Huna would light lamps in the house, not the Shabbat candles, but would light lamps. Rav Papa Godil Pasilta. Rav Papa, in those days, you didn't buy candles. You had to make everything yourself. So Rav Papa would sit and out of threads weave the wicks for the Shabbat candles. And that's why nowadays many husbands have the custom of putting the candles in the candle holder and lighting them briefly and putting them out to make them easy to light later. Rav Chisda Porem Silka. Rav Chisda would cut the beets in preparation for Shabbat. Again, peeling beets and cutting them is not so easy. You peel them, your hands get red. So again, So as you see, these are all the hard work that normally the servants would do, and which the wives didn't want to do. Rav Chisda, Rav Rabba and Rav Yosef, who were the greatest leaders of their generation, Mitzalchei Tzivi, they would cut wood for Shabbos. They went out and they chopped wood with an axe. The greatest rabbis of the generation, because they're the greatest honor that a Jew could have is to get his hands dirty for preparing for Shabbat. Rav Zera Mitzate Tzitute. Rav Zera would prepare kindling. In other words, in those days, the fires used big chunks of wood, so you have to prepare, you have to chop up, you have to make tinder in order that they burn. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Makatef with the oil Makatef and Hafek. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak would load stuff on his shoulder and bring stuff in and bring stuff out. In other words, he would do all the heavy schlepping. He would bring the sacks. Well, they didn't have potatoes in those days, but you get the idea. Omar, he says, if Rabbi Yami, Rabbi Yassi visit me, who were his teachers, would I not schlep things for them? Would I not bring their bags in for them? It's an honor to help one's teachers. So for the sake of Shabbat, all the more so I should do these things. And now, do we have time? Oh, we don't. Okay. So there's a great story coming up, the famous story that many of you, or some of you might have heard as children, Yosef who loved Shabbat. And that's the story we're going to tell tomorrow. A beautiful story. Now, the point over here is that why is all this the case? The 13 kinds of meat and all the hard work. Because again, Shabbat is the day when everything is holy. The body is holy, the food is holy, right? Because we're completely devoted to Hashem. And that's expressed by not doing any of the things we're not supposed to do on Shabbat. We completely put aside all our attempts to modify the world, and we live in the space of simply appreciating what Hashem gives us, and a space in which even the physical pleasure, we recognize that this physical pleasure comes from the creative power of Hashem, and we experience divinity in every moment, even in the piece of meat that we eat. Okay, and that is the key idea of Shabbat, and therefore the preparation of the wood and schlepping in the heavy boxes and burning the hair off the head of the animal, all this stuff is a act of service, the way we serve Hashem in the Beit HaMikdash in the temple, because the Shabbat reveals how everything in the world is created by Hashem and is holy, as long as we make the space. And that's why they did all these things, because all these things we're reading about here, you're not allowed to do on Shabbat. It all has to be done before.
Okay.
And Mark wishes us all a happy new year. So
Happy
it
New Year.
says in Tehillim that Hashem counts by the measures of nations. In other words, that Hashem also counts the way the nations of the world count them. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe once told someone that if you acknowledge the new year and make a good resolution, it's all gravy. Anything to do any excuse for a good resolution, as long as you keep it. Okay, and with that,
gravy.
Yeah. With that, I wish everyone a wonderful day, and we'll see you today. You're all invited to our 15-minute speedy lunch and learn at 12:30. All the best, everyone.
12 midnight.
What?
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah, take care, everyone. All the best.
See you
12
next
midnight.
year.
12:30 p.m. Yossel Puzzle.
12 midnight is a big.
Oh, you mean okay, whatever. I'm not staying up.
Yeah, too late.
Yeah.
Too late. Yeah.
Just make a good resolution to learn more Torah. Okay, all the best, everyone.